People will make up things to get their name in print. There are a lot of those stories around about Shakespeare, even that he didn't write the plays, of course.
Shakespeare actually transcends his time.
His characters are very one-dimensional.
Your interest cannot wane because there is so much in Shakespeare's plays that each director will get something new out of it.
He is speaking to the audience in a self-overhearing manner.
And that's something I like about Shakespeare too. I find that the raw, one-dimensional kind of immediacy of the characters, that they're not complex.
We have a wonderful blend of the young, the old, the experienced, the inexperienced, the knowledgeable and the novices. And this allows for every production to be an exciting, organic collection of individual efforts.
A number of modern playwrights have followed in Shakespeare's steps and adapted the ideas of Shakespeare to the modern day. But that doesn't mean that Shakespeare's soliloquies have no meaning in themselves.
It's one thing to write a play that preaches to people, that pontificates. It's another thing to use the current prejudices of one's own society in a way that actually transcends what most of the people in the audience are likely to believe.
It makes the characters very raw and very immediate.
His plays were great entertainment. For that there's a lot of evidence, and there were lots of elements in every play that were crowd pleasers. But the lines, "If you prick me, do I not bleed," and so forth, show that Shakespeare wasn't just using the material available to him in order to put out a good product, so to speak. He was trying to go beyond what the audiences were looking for, but he achieved it in a way that didn't leave the audience behind.
Well, it's, I think, the immediacy of the recognition that the world of Shakespeare is not fundamentally different from today's world. That what motivates individuals is the same. The same motivation, the same issues are still around, and that makes Shakespeare, with his genius and his greatness, that makes him utterly relevant.
There is an approach to philosophy that sees the question of it as wisdom. Etymologically, that's what philosophy is, the love of wisdom. And of course, there's plenty of the most profound wisdom in Shakespeare.
I'm now understanding Shakespeare in a really different way. I mentioned to you the book, The Invention of the Human by Bloom. The idea that Bloom has is that Shakespeare invented the human because if you look at the plays before Shakespeare, there is very little reflection about what it means to be a human being.
It's very simple if you think about it, Shakespeare. It's very simple. I think that is also a real signature of mastery, to be able to present any work of art in a manner that appears so effortless and simple, and yet so profound at the same time.
It is very easy once you start, and I think people can learn not only about speaking Shakespeare's words, but about speaking generally. I always had a problem reading Shakespeare Whether it was a mind block, I don't know, the way the words were written.
I would say there were a lot of challenges. One notable one was, of course, being able to keep centered on the character and the character's own motivations. I think that's a lot harder in reality than it sounds. Looking back, would have liked to have become more intimate with the character. Would have spent more time. The opportunity to put Shakespeare into physical embodiment, to translate Shakespeare from the text to a performance. And that process, which of course is essential to Shakespeare, it is written for the theatre, it isn't written as a text, that is very rewarding.
But you're also learning about history, whether it was factual at the time because Shakespeare did twist things around. Richard III, for a case example, wasn't the bad person that is portrayed in the play. The Tudors had a hand in that because they followed and didn't want him to look very good at all. They wanted to be known as the people. And a lot of it reflected human nature of the time when you think of the killings in the Julius Caesar, the Hamlet, everybody dying at the end, the Titus Andronicus there with the violence, that was happening in the streets, whether it was people being put on the gallows, and that would be entertainment for many people. The bear baiting that was happening in the pits close to the globe, that was normal life, squalor of the times, and he was reflecting that in many of his plays.
When I wore it at your daughter's marriage,
You crammed these words.
We don't know a lot about his life. There are certain aspects recorded, but there are lost times that we don't know. And people interpret other things about that time, and we can say yes or no, or just we don't know.